Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Draftkings Showdown. We got a week 12 matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington football team. A really close matchup. Could be high scoring as neither team can do anything to stop what the other team brings to the table offensively. So a total here of 47, but a very good possibility that it goes even higher than the total. Those are the games that I love for Showdown, the ones that actually get to a shootout. 55, 60, 65 total points in those games makes the Showdown slates a lot more fun. So we're going to go over all of it. We're going to put together a pick'em sheet for Underdog Fantasy. And I did want to say thank you, as look right down here, you know, right there. We passed the $25,000 fundraising goal on the season, and we did it on Thanksgiving Day. So that was kind of special. Our fundraiser for No Kid Hungry is going to continue. I've upped the limit now to $35,000. If we can raise $10,000 more over the course of now until December the 31st, I will donate an additional $25,000 to No Kid Hungry of my own money. That would be $65,000 from me, $35,000 from you, $100,000 raised to try and help people that are food insecure across the United States. So every dollar helps. Smizzle.tv/charity. There's always a link down below in the description if you wanted to click show more. But thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's hit it.
He's a legend.
We'll start over on Underdog Fantasy today. If you guys do not have an account, if you use promo code ALSMIZZLE on your first deposit to the site. Recently, they've had a deposit match up to $100. I don't know if that's still the thing. Definitely check. You'll get something if you use my code when you sign up. So use code ALSMIZZLE. If you're a new member on your first deposit, you'll get some extra money put into your account. Let's fill out a little pick'em card based on tomorrow night's games. Unders are definitely more sharp. Overs are just more fun because we get to, you know, we get to just kind of sweat them all the way until the end of the game. Last week we had two quarterbacks that were really low. Let's do this. Let's say Alex Collins. Let's do unders tonight. How about that? I think overs are more fun. Let's shoot for the shootout. Let's do that here. Over here and over here. 241.5 yards, 240.5 yards. Let's just do a two-man for $50. Submit to win 150. Confirm. Boom. There's the slip. And let's take a look at the game. So triple crowns here. If you are somebody who's trying to hunt down moving up in levels for your DraftKings rewards, for your dynasty rewards for next year, triple crowns on this main showdown game, the $15 game. Let's start with Seattle. I'll isolate to them. Russ has been back from injury, but Russ has not been back in terms of is he Russ? Like not in the can Russ cook or let Russ cook mode that we were seeing last year and at least the beginning of this year before the injury. He's come back and posted two stinkers, one against Arizona led by Colt McCoy, another one against Green Bay at Green Bay in his first game back from injury. He just hasn't looked like himself. Hopefully an extra week. And now the Washington football team defense, which has allowed the most DraftKings points to opposing quarterbacks and like top 3 in the league in terms of most wide receiver points. That bodes well for Russ. His best pass catchers are 2 wide receivers. And they're without Chase Young and Montez Sweat, their best 2 edge rushers. They're still very stout on the front 7 and good against the run. But now they should be able to put even less pressure on Russ Wilson in the backfield. Couple of things that I wanted to mention first. They're having some serious issues at running back with Seattle. There's nobody left, right? You've got Rashad Penny is out. You've got Travis Homer is out. Basically, there's no Chris Carson is done. There's 2 guys. That's it. There are 2 guys left. One, Alex Collins, who you saw in the underdog sheet, has not been looking really good. Part of that is because the offense has not looked really good. So a running back is not going to look good behind that offensive line when they're not doing a great job. And DJ Dallas, who is probably the better play in a PPR situation like DraftKings, but know that in this game, that's it. These are the only 2 cats that are running the football or lining up and getting snaps at running back. So even if Alex Collins gets 70% of the snaps, the other 30% are going to go to DJ Dallas in that work. But if we're going to play Russ Wilson, and I I will have some Russ at captain lineups. I will have some Heineke at captain lineups, but I'm probably going to limit them. I'm always going to come in, not always, more often than not, unless it's like a Lamar Jackson or a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback like that. And these quarterbacks in this game certainly are not that. I'm going to come in with a total of under 15% of both of those guys in my lineups. Now, if you're playing cash, I understand, but most of the captain winners in showdown tournaments are wide receivers because of DraftKings scoring, then running backs, and then tight ends, and then quarterbacks. Rarely defense, rarely kicker. It does happen from time to time, but they are overplayed in the captain spot versus the other positions, or versus their percentage that they actually finish there. So you're against the math if you're putting those there. You might get lucky, but you're going to lose money over time if you do that. So mostly I stick to running backs and wide receivers as my captain. But if I'm going to play a Russ Wilson captain line, I'm going to make sure that there are two of his pass catchers tied to him in every one of those times. So I'm not going to tie DJ Dallas or Alex Collins, but I'm not going to exclude them either. I will include the kicker in that lineup. Freddie Swain has been very good, and he's a lot cheaper. He's at 2,200. And again, showdown, you just need one thing to happen. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit once we get to FanDuel. Disley will be in that group. D. Eskridge has been earning more snaps, but we have not seen it translate into fantasy points. Only 200. You don't need much at 200 if you're going to utilize him in that lineup. The other group that we're going to build is a bring back group with Washington. Basically, all of their play caller, all of their offensive players are going to be in that group. Every one of the Washington offensive players are going to be in that group coming back, including the quarterback, not the kicker. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end are going to be in that group. Let's take a look over at NFL Savant and look at Seattle. Seattle has a team total of 24 here. That's the Washington football team. Basically, like I said before, Tyler Lockett, 27% of the market share. DK Metcalf, 26.5% of the market share targets. Then Everett. Then you get a little bit of Swain, and then like it's just push and pray, I guess, to get any of those guys. Once they get in the red zone, obviously DK Metcalf big. Freddie Swain being second on the team with 20% of the market share targets inside the red zone. Tyler Lockett with 5, and then Everett really not getting all that much usage whatsoever. He's turned one of his 3 targets into a catch and a touchdown when targeted inside the red zone. So going back over to the Washington football team side of things, they have 2 players coming back from injury in this game. So Fitzmagic has been out all season. Gibson has not materialized in the passing game and getting absolutely no run there whatsoever. His pass blocking woes, they are just not comfortable with him being in long down and distance or in obvious passing situations like a 2-minute drill. So if he's on the field, other teams can expect him to run the football. It's not that he's bad at catching the football. He's done quite well when throwing the ball, catching 19 of the 23 targets that have been headed his way this year. The problem is his pass blocking. So like they can't have him in and trust that he's going to be able to pick up a blitz. He's one of the worst PFF graded pass blocking running backs in the league, which has led to JD McKissic doing his thing in the passing game, but like it's unpredictable from one week to the next. It's not a James White situation where like James White is going to play 37% of the snaps when healthy. That he's going to get between like 4 and 8 targets every single week when healthy. We have games where he gets 2 targets, 10 targets, 4 targets, 8 targets. It's all over the map. So for Showdown, if you wanted to click him into a lineup, I totally get it. If you want to tie him to Tyler Heineke, I also understand that. Now, Heineke is in a kind of a unique situation here because the Seahawks cannot pressure opposing QBs. They are one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league, at quarterback hurries, quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, all of those metrics. They just don't get after quarterbacks. So like Heineke should be able to throw from pretty clean pockets. And as I mentioned before, Logan Thomas is expected to be activated from injured reserve and will probably jump right back into his old role, the one that he abdicated when he went to the injured reserve list and was taken over by Ricky Seals-Jones, and then when Ricky Seals-Jones got hurt, it was taken over by the Bates Motel. So he's going to step right back into like 90-95% of the snaps at tight end, running routes on like 80+% of those. So expect what you expect from him, right? Like what you would expect from Ricky Seals-Jones, what you would expect from Logan Thomas before the injury, expect that this week. So if we're going to have Tyler Heineke in there, I'm going to make that group. My favorite play in that group is going to be Terry McLaurin, especially considering how bad Seattle has been against opposing quarterbacks and basically how good he has been. Is Terry McLaurin the new Allen Robinson, where he's going to play like the majority of his prime years without like a really, really good quarterback? I'm hoping that Washington can figure that out, because this kid is one of my favorite wide receivers to watch in the league. But tournament winning upside. But because of the inefficiency at quarterback and the unpredictability of this quarterback play from week to week, he has a big gap between his floor games and his ceiling games. It's not his fault. It's part of the situation. It is what it is. But Seattle's defense should put them in a spot here where Heineke's going to be able to throw from clean pockets and target McLaurin. Now, if you're going to play Gibson or McKissick, make sure that you're building those lineups, as I mentioned before. Like, if you think that Washington's going to be ahead and Antonio Gibson's going to get a first half touchdown and they're going to be up 1 to 2 scores during this game, then you're going to want to click McKissick into those lineups, right? Like, what does Overzet say? Your lineups have to tell a story. So if you're telling the story that Washington's going to win this game going away, then you want to click Gibson into those lineups. If you think that Washington's going to be playing from behind, then you want to click McKissick into those lineups. I will utilize McKissick in that group because as we look over here, he is second on that team in terms of targets. You can add up Ricky Seals-Jones and Thomas and the Bates Motel down here to basically equal about 18 to 20% of the market share of targets that are going to be headed towards the tight end in this offense. Before he went down, he had 14 targets, as well as targets inside the red zone. So there's 3 guys that are key. It's going to be the tight end, and this week it's going to be Logan Thomas. Terry McLaurin and JD McKissick are going to be the main 3 that you're going to click into this spot. So I will include him in my group there. I'm going to include the kicker. I'm not going to include Gibson. If you wanted to include Carter, that's fine, but I think he may be overpriced, especially with Curtis Samuel. He's questionable, but they expect him to play, was the last thing that I saw on Twitter on Sunday afternoon. I was getting ready and preparing to, I was doing my notes and preparing to do this video. So if nothing else, as injury prone as he's been this year, or as injury plagued as he's been this year, not injury prone, struggling with that groin injury since the offseason, it's never really healed this season. So if he's playing and he plays like, let's say 40% of the snaps, that's going to cut into DeAndre Carter's snaps and targets and everything else. He's caught a touchdown in 3 straight, but like he's very, very touchdown dependent right now because he's not getting steady volume. We'll include him. We'll include Carter. We'll include Thomas. We'll also include their kicker, probably Cam Sims as well as a one-off. Not as many great punt type plays, except for like DYAMI Brown, if you believe he even gets on the field, which he has not been doing recently with the emergence of Carter and now the return of Curtis Samuel. If I'm going to build a lineup that includes a wide receiver at captain, like Terry McLaurin, who's probably my favorite captain for this slate, I'm going to make sure that I tie Heineke to him. Same thing goes if you're going to be building Lockett. You're going to tie Wilson to him. If you're going to put DK Metcalf, you're going to tie Wilson to him, because if they have a captain night where DK Metcalf is the key captain in those lineups that win a GPP, meaning he has like 8-9 catches for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, Russ Wilson also has at least 140 passing yards and at least 2 touchdowns. So if Metcalf goes off, it's also likely that Russ Wilson has himself a night that he will also end up in that lineup. Let's go over to Fantasy Labs and take a look how it's going to break down. Okay, so looking at the Fantasy Labs optimizer, I've got my template set up here for Showdown. You can save yours with your settings. I allow for 10% of the salary cap to be left on the table. I will not allow a kicker or a defense. This is your shuffle, maximum exposure at a certain position. It takes a lot of manicuring to do this, but the simple 5 rules that I utilize on every Showdown slate, and then I'll build out correlations or player groups from there and limit and boost players with the flames and the snowflakes to get the percentages the way that I want them and allocations the way that I want them for that slate. But the 5 basic rules that we set: pair your captain quarterback of at least 2 of his wide receiver, tight end, and kicker from the same team. Pair the quarterback, that captain, with all the offensive players from the opponent's team. Pair your captain wide receiver with the quarterback from the same team. Same thing goes for the tight end from the same team, and limit to at most one defense or kicker from the same game, especially in a game like this where I expect a lot of scoring and not a lot of pressure on the quarterback, because the greatest predictor of fantasy scoring for defenses is their ability to pressure the quarterback, and these two teams just do not have that ability. Maybe they come out with it this week. So go over there, hit 150 lineups, generate, and if you don't have the cheddar to go after the $15 tournament, both sites, both FanDuel and DraftKings, have a mini max tournament. That means it's either 10 cents, 25 cents, or 50 cents, and you can enter 150 lineups. There's usually somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000 sitting up on top of those tournaments, whether it's for a showdown slate or a main slate. It takes a lot more manicuring than just to click this button. Make sure that you're looking at your different allocations and getting the groupings that you want. The last group that I think is most important to separate yourself is over here in player groups. Add a group, at least one player. Pick 5 players that you, 5, 6, 7 players that you think are going to be below about 25% on the slate, and force at least one of them into every single lineup that you have the builder make for you, so that you can differentiate your lineup from everybody else's in the tournament. So you're going to share. It's just the way that Showdown goes, but at least if you win, you'll be sharing with 5 or 10 people as opposed to 500 or 1,000. That's going to do it. Thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video and look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.